Good morning everyone, this is Ashomit and I want to welcome all of you in today's webinar on linguistics. And before going any further, please let me know if my voice is audible or not. Please let me know if my voice is audible or not. Today we are going to I think there is some technical difficulty that we were facing, so that's why we started late, but not an issue, so it happens. So yes, please let me know if my voice or not, and then we shall start with the session. So basically what we are going to cover today is syntax, semantics and pragmatics. These are the instruments of linguistics, and in the previous session we learned something about linguistics, as it is a kind of science which studies the language, meaning, context, languages meaning, context and form or structure. So we finished 3 till now, that phonology, phonetics and morphology, and today what we are going to do is we are going to move further and understand syntax, semantics and pragmatics. So basically today we will be completing, we will not going in depth about what is syntax, semantics and pragmatics. So we will be understanding briefly about what is syntax, semantics and pragmatics, and you will get an idea like how to go about it. Okay, what happens in syntax, what basically is semantics and pragmatics. And before starting, please let me know if my voice is audible. I think that people are watching. You can share this video with your friends, and yes, please let me know if my voice is audible. So technically this is something very important from the perspective of language, and so we shall start with syntax. So what is syntax basically? If it's a Greek word, like if you understand syntax, syn means together and taxis means arrangement. So basically it's a field or it's an instrument of linguistic whereby we study the sentence structure. Okay, so it is, yes, of course it is part of linguistic. So by sentence structure we need to understand, like, it involves all the grammatical parts, the grammar at a very high level, you can think. And so what is the structure basically? So if we can look at this, like there, if we try to define 3 things like agreement, word order and hierarchical structure, we'll understand what we are talking about. So agreement is generally what? Subject and verb agreement, like he goes to school, okay, they go to school. So how the plural subject, if the subject is plural, what kind of verb we are going to use? If the subject is singular, what form of verb we are going to use? Then word order, like he goes to school, okay, goes to he school or goes to school he. So there is a difference. Okay, so there is a difference. So these are the things, okay, at structure level. It doesn't concern itself to meaning, but whereas it concerns itself to the grammar. Okay, meaning is something else, whereas in syntax we focus on the grammar of that subject. Okay, so it is made possible that a sentence can be grammatically correct even it does not have any meaning. Okay, For example, I eat lunch boxes. Okay, so it doesn't make any sense, but grammatically it is correct. But at the same time, if I say eat I lunch boxes, this is grammatically incorrect. So syntax is basically that part of linguistic where we study the sentence structure, or basically the standards that governs a language. Okay, so let's understand parts of speech, like how different parts of speech, okay, basically tells about what is there or not. Okay, so words basically behave differently in a language. Okay, some word behave as something, whereas the other word behave something else. So what it is categorization, basically based on morphology, syntax and semantics. So if we talk about the words classes in parts of speech, we can basically divide it into two. One is open class words and another one is closed class. We shall see. So open class words are basically noun, verb, adjective and adverb. Okay, and if we talk about in the sense of morphology, syntax and semantics, we can understand that noun can form plural. Okay, it has determiners. It is, if we understand about the syntax, it is modified by the adjectives. If we talk about semantics, that is the theory of meaning, basically what would happen, it could be the name of a person or place. Similarly, verb can morphologically form the third person, okay, or the past tense or past present or present participle. Okay, it can also combine with the auxiliary verb. Okay, syntax can be, it can modify by an adverb, and meaning wise it describe an action. So if we look at all the things like noun, verb, adjective and adverb based on morphology, syntax and semantics, we can be doing something what can be studied in syntax. Syntax. Now again, there are close classed words like determiners, right? Auxiliary verbs, pronouns, preposition, conjunctions. Okay, so like in the open class words, what happens is, like, there are less expectancy of in the open class word there is a high expectancy that new words can be added, whereas in the closed class word it is exactly the opposite. These are the functional words basically. Okay, these are not the content word, but these are functional words. So basically closed class words are like determiners, articles, quantifiers, okay, auxiliary verbs, pronouns, prepositions and conjunctions. So like in syntax we have a different codes, okay, which denotes to something. Like determiners are denoted by det or d, okay, prepositions by p, conjunctions by co and j, pronouns by pro. Similarly, nouns are denoted by n, verbs are denoted by v, okay, adjective adj and adverb adv. So in syntax, like, it also has a symbolic language. We'll understand further like what is the advantage of all these things. Okay, then we can describe the sentence structure. If we look at the sentence Rahul ate, so there is a noun, phrase and verb. Okay, whereas if we look at Rahul saw his bike, there is a noun, phrase, then there is a verb, and then there is a noun phrase. Noun phrase are what? Like, it contains at least one noun. Okay, and then if you look at this, Rahul asked his goat for a beer, then what it is? It is noun, phrase, then verb, then noun, phrase, and then there is a preposition phrase. So noun phrase is Rahul, okay, verb is asked, okay, then there is noun phrase his goat, then there is for a beer, that is prepositional phrase. So for is a preposition. Okay, so this is how we can describe sentences here in syntax. So probably we might not have done this in our secondary or primary education level, but here we can do this. So similarly, we have phrase structure trees in syntax, okay, whereby we can describe, like if you look at this, the little girl chases her cat. Okay, so what we can do, there is a subject, then there is a verb, then there is a noun phrase, then there is determiner, then there is adjective and noun, then there is determinant and noun. So this is how we can create a structural tree, okay, of a sentence, okay, so that we understand, okay, if this is how the things goes, okay, this is how the thing go. So yes, today this was all about syntax, and then we shall understand the next part, that is okay, then we shall move on to understand semantics. So yes, so semantics, so we started with syntax, okay, and then we'll move on to understand semantics, okay. And there is possible that there can be one, lexical attachment to the word, okay, like it's cold versus I got a cold. So the same word has different, meaning. So we shall see what it means. So yes, semantics, now we have come to semantics. Semantics is the study of meaning in a language, okay. So it just studies the basic organization of language, okay, which is required to be meaningful, okay. And so not only this, okay, this is the most abstract level of linguistic analysis, okay, as meaning cannot be seen or observed, okay. Okay, and so meaning is, why it is abstract? Because meaning cannot be seen or observed, okay. It is conceptualized in the brains of the individual. So we need to understand that. So it's a very difficult and abstract, field in linguistics which studies the meaning of the things, okay. So observing the systematic account of nature of meaning, so this also includes in that. So if you can read all these things, so we will understand, okay, it is what's the study of meaning in the language, and it studies how the organization of language is required to be meaningful. Okay, let's see one by one. Now many philosophers has tried to define meaning, okay. So meaning is associated to a word, or a word is associated to a meaning, okay. So basically words denote to the concept of object in mind. So if we research, so we will figure out that word generally denotes to the concept of object in the mind. Word generally denotes to the concept of object in the mind and not the object itself, okay. Whereas Plato, in a dialogue Cratylus, he says that words corresponds to actual object, but it is true only for a few objects, okay. As you can take the example of cow, like if how the cow speaks, like small children, they can say the cow moo moo, okay. The speaking of the cow is moo moo. At the same time, it is moo only, right? So this is how the thing sometimes can be, according to what Plato is saying. Whereas Saussure, like he's also an very wise philosopher. He says the relationship between the word and the concept is arbitrary, okay, because it is not that exactly, because the reason he gives is that because when we try to define that, what happens, we take the help of other words, okay. And C.K. and I.A. Richards and C.K. Ogden observed that all language consists of signs, okay, whereas every word is a sign, every word is a sign, and which indicates other sign. So this is how the things goes here. If we try to define meaning, we need to take refuge in the thoughts and processes of what the philosophers has already said, and then we understand all these things, and then we start with our own things. So this was meaning. So meaning is basically the concept that is there in our mind, and there is a Plato something saying, there is Sassur something saying, these are two intelligent guys, what they are saying. Okay, so meaning should be like that. And then there is a list of things, okay, that pertains to meaning. And so meaning can be an intrinsic property of something, other words related to that word in a dictionary, the connotations of a word, the thing to the which speaker of that word refers, the thing to which the speaker of that word should refer, the thing to which the speaker of the word believes himself to be referring at the same time, the thing to which the hearer of that word believes is being referred to. Okay, the thing to which the hearer of the word believes is referred to. So this is what it is all about. So this is a list, like very interesting list. It is also given by some philosophers, not from my side. If we can read all these 7 things, so we'll understand purely what meaning could be. Okay, and then there is a sense and referent. There is another concept called sense and referent. So what's the difference? Sense is basically the meaning of the word, logical meaning of the word in the dictionary. For example, pen means pen, cow means cow, okay. Bike means bike, car means car. Whereas referent is the particular instance of a meaning. For example, Jack's pen, Rahul's pen, Rahul's car, Rahul's bike. So of course it is a pen, but at the same time it is Rahul's pen, okay. There is additional information to that. So that is referent, that is called a referent. So there is a sense and a referent. So we need to keep in mind while understanding the meaning. Then there are aspects of meaning of words, like you can say is the categorization of meaning, like denotative, connotative, social and thematic. So denotative is the logical meaning of that word, okay, that differentiate from other concepts, and which is essential for the concept. Suppose it's a pen, so pen means the figure of the pen, or pen is like this, okay, whereby we use, there is a nib and there is a lead, and there is something where we can hold the pen between our 2 fingers and write. So this is something pen, and it is not the pen itself, it is the concept that is there in our mind. There could be verbs, there could be adjectives, okay, there could be other things that are associated with that pen which is there in our mind, and that concept is contributed to be a word. So the word, the sound is in our mind as well as the concept is in our mind as well. Okay, that is why this is something very abstract. Because for me, pen could mean something else, but for you, because if you take the referent meaning, the things might change. That's why this is a very tough field, but at the same time very interesting. What is the connotative meaning? The additional or associative meaning that is attached to denotative or conceptual meaning, like stereotypes. If you take the example of stereotypes, okay, if we say it's a Lamborghini Gallardo, okay, it's a car, but it's a Lamborghini Gallardo. So what happens? So there is that grandeur and grace and all that speed that comes on, okay, and somebody might think it of, might compare it to something else. So it is quite common in poetry, okay. And then there is a social meaning. So what is social meaning? Okay, social meaning is the meaning that a word conveys based on its use in particular social situation or circumstance. So basically the context, when the context is taken into picture, okay, where there is a talk going on and there is a context as well, like there is a context called teaching, then there is a context called business meetings, and then there is a context whereby we are playing something, okay. There are domain specific things you can also take, for example, okay. So when there is a social circumstances, there is a society, there is a bunch of people where there is a different genre of conversation going on, and then we speak, and then the word is there, then what happens, their meaning changes. Okay, if I say pay in a restaurant, it would mean different, and if I say pay in a class, it would definitely will mean different. Okay, and then thematic meaning. Okay, thematic meaning is a manner in which the message is emphasized. Then there is something called as semantic roles. If we understand the roles, we will understand. If you look at a sentence, it is filled with characters. Now compare this thing with something which is quite similar to what you can call that is a cinema or a drama. Okay, so if you look at a sentence, you will find there are plenty of roles. Okay, and different roles are named. We will see that, like agent, theme, instrument, benefactive, then experiencer, location, source, goal. All these are roles that are given to something. So what is agent? Agent is basically the entity that performs the action. Theme, it is the entity involved and affected by the action. Instrument is if there is an aid, okay, used by an agent in performing an action. Example is very clear. The man opened the door with the key. So the agent is man. Okay, he's performing the action. At the same time, the theme is door, because door is getting affected, and he has used a key, which is another entity that is supporting the action. Then there is benefactive. Benefactive are basically noun or noun phrases that refers to person or animal who benefits or is meant to benefit from the action of the word. Okay, like John baked a cake for Mary. So Mary is the benefactive of the action. Okay, so these are basically noun or noun phrases, okay, and which refers to person or animal who benefits or is meant to benefit from the action. Then similarly, experiencer, and again it is a noun phrase which designates an entity as one who has feeling, appreciation, or a state. If we see, know, or enjoy something, we don't know. So basically, experiencer are the entities who has that perception power, appreciation power, feeling, or a state which can experience something. Like, did you hear that sound? So you is the experiencer, okay, because you is experiencing that sound. Then there is location. Location is simple, where the entity is. Source, from where the entity moves. Goal is where an entity moves to. An example is she borrowed a book from John. So from John is the source, and then she handed the book back to John. That is the goal. Okay, so if you can look at this, you'll understand, okay, where is the source, what is the goal. Okay, then we shall move to pragmatics. So what is pragmatics? Pragmatics are basically the understanding of the context, okay, how the context plays a role in changing the or contributes in the meaning of the utterance. So if you want to understand this in basic terms, we can say it is the study of language used in interpersonal communication. Okay, when somebody is speaking, that is different thing. But there are dialogues going on. Okay, there are interpersonal communication going on, and at that time, what happens is what we speak. Okay, like linguistically, what we grammatically put. Okay, if we take this non-verbal cues and all that into picture, the voice modulation thing, the meaning is updated. So we'll see. So to understand this, there is a theory in it that is called speech act. So it is basically the utterance spoken in actual communication situation. Okay, so I think this subject, by this line we could have understood what could it mean. Then there is a guy called John Lex Austin. Okay, he has written a very beautiful book, How to Do Things with Words. Okay, and what he has said, there are two types of words: constitutive and performative verbs. What are constitutive verbs? Constitutive verbs are those verbs which describe reality. Okay, it has some truth value. It can be either false or true. For example, it rained heavily today. Okay, I eat meat today, or I ate chicken today, or I ate something else today. Okay, so it could be either true or false, right? And then there is performative verbs. Okay, it is there to help the interactional goal between two or more speakers. For example, I promise to help you with the work. It is exactly the opposite of constitutive. So basically it is saying that there is no work is getting done right now, but there is an assurance that the work will be performed in future and is expressed by the speakers. Okay, and then there is a felicity condition. Okay, felicity condition is the other things that contributes to meaning. Okay, like if you want to, if suppose if we want to insult someone, if we want to make somebody laugh, and we did that and that person did not laugh. Okay, so there are other things which are related to it. Okay, there are other things that contribute. If you take the example of baptization or some rituals where there are few mantras that are required to be chanted, there are few other things that are to be performed, then only the things take shape exactly how it is being wanted. Okay, so similarly felicity conditions are all the other aids that facilitates to the utterance. And then there is types of speech act. Okay, if we talk about the types of speech act, we can see there are basically three types. Okay, locutionary act, illocutionary act, and perlocutionary act. Okay, there are three types of speech act: locutionary, illocutionary, and perlocutionary. So illocutionary act is basically which gives sense of reference. Example, the earth is round. Okay, saying something using sound which has a meaning in traditional sense is also locutionary act. Whereas illocutionary act is the intention of speakers that are expressed using performative words. So locutionary act is the act of saying. Illocutionary act is a one step ahead which expresses the speaker's intention using performative word. Perlocutionary act is the study or is the categorization of act. Okay, where the effect of insulting or persuading is visible on the listener and by their reaction. If somebody is insulting someone, and if what he's taking back, or he's replying back is visible based on what the speaker, what tone and what modulation speaker saying, this is what the perlocutionary act defines. Then there are indirect speech acts. So indirect speech act is basically a situation where the literal meaning of sentence is not the speaker wishes to use as an interpretation. Okay, so basically these are the standardized, or you can say these are the popular different concepts which are accepted in the ocean of concepts in the minds of people. Okay, like if I like example is there, it's very dot in here means what it would mean grammatically. Okay, but at the same time it also means to do this, that is, it is a request to close the door or open the door. Okay, close the door or close the window. So if I say get lost, okay, so it also means a lot. Okay, if a student is asking and if I say I'm saying get lost, okay, they might laugh, okay, or at the same time might do different things. Okay, so basically what the desired meaning of the sentence is understood to be something different from that desired meaning. Okay, according to the language that is being said, according to the syntax or the meaning, what is being conveyed is indirect speech. So basically, let's not complicate it. Understanding this way, I'll read and I'll understand. A situation where the literal meaning of a sentence is not the speaker wishes to use in his or her interpretation. Okay, so this is what indirect speech is. So there is a maxim of conversation, developed by H. Paul Grice. Okay, there is quality, quantity, relevance, and manner. So quality is like what we say is assumed to be true. Quantity is be informative but not too much so. Relevance is be relevant to the purpose of the exchange. Manner is be perspicuous about absurdity and ambiguity. So basically quality is whatever we are saying is assumed to be true. Okay, we have to be informative, but at the same time let's not overdo it. Relevance is we need to be relevant to the purpose of exchange. At the same time, manner is we should avoid absurdity and ambiguity in our speech. So this is the maximum of conversation. If we follow it, okay, then the conversation is believed to be successful. Okay, otherwise some hindrance might come up. And these maxims are by H. Paul Grice. So he's again a linguistic and a philosopher. So what we have finished today, let's come back and understand it once more. Syntax, semantics, and pragmatics. Syntax is structure of a language, structure of a sentence, grammar part. Semantics deal with meanings. Pragmatic deals with the upgradation of meaning. Like deals means here is study of upgradation of meaning due to the context. So phonetics was all about individual sound. Then phonology was how individual sound affected meaning. Then morphology was how words are constructed. Then syntax is how the sentence is being constructed. Semantics is what is the meaning. Okay, and pragmatics is the context. Okay, so from sound became a word, from word became a sentence, and from sentence became a discourse. So conversation is basically discourse. Okay, and which is the highest form of language in linguistics, whereby we can convey what we wanted to understand. So I think there are some technical difficulties coming. So I think we should stop this session, because in the starting of the session there were some difficulties, but not an issue. This won't happen again. So what I do, I'll share the feedback form. Okay, kindly fill the feedback form, and I would thank all of you. Like if there are some mistakes, kindly ignore. Okay. So okay, I'm closing the webinar now, but I'm sharing the link of the feedback form. It will be there for 2-3 hours. Anybody can come, but the certificates are only distributed to those who come live. Okay, so let's close the webinar and share the feedback form with you all.